Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I am the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I have this beautiful, wonderful, awesome team that God has provided me that I always like to introduce because they are so much of this. I could not do this without them. So first off, here is Faith. Faith has been my assistant since the day she was born. She used to come up on the podium, and I'd sit her on the podium while I did announcements, and she would help me do announcements. And she's grown up in the church and now is my official assistant, about to turn 18. Really quick here. How many days is it now?
We've got 4 weeks.
4 weeks. So we're not counting days yet. We're counting a month. Okay, got it. And she is the person behind the scenes that does all the work. So if you are saying hello or good morning or hello or hi, good morning or hello, like I ask you to, she's the person who is responding. I always check it out later to make sure there's something else, there isn't something else that needs to be said, but pretty much she knows me better than I know myself. She's grown up 6 blocks away from me her whole life. So anyway, and she is our soloist right now. So thank you, Faith. We really appreciate you. And next is the wise and powerful Oz, my partner in crime, who has been with me since 1998. God, it just seems longer and longer the more I say that.
Decades and decades.
I know, right? It's just amazing. But he was my first baby practitioner, meaning he took all of his training with me, except for one class that he took at Mile High. And he has been a licensed practitioner now. How many years?
Oh, gosh, 20?
20 years. Wow. You should be getting your 20-year pin then.
I would think so. I don't know.
You'll have to contact them and see how many years it's actually been. Anyway, he moved off to Florida for a bit. Well, he's still there. He was my board president. And then he moved off to Florida. And of course, we didn't have any way to bring him into the service until now, since we started doing it live online. So now we have him back with us, and I'm so appreciative. He'll be praying us in, praying us out, and he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So thank you, Oz, for being here. All right. And then I always like to introduce my sound team that isn't really my sound team. My music team. They provide the music for us so that Faith can sing their songs. And that is Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver and Karen Drucker. And so I always like to put a shout out to them, as well as Tina, who makes appearances here and there. She will be here for Christmas Eve. If you're missing Tina's voice, please join us on Christmas Eve. All right. The topic today is practice unconditional love. I'll let it go at that. Say hi, hello, good morning, however you'd like to greet us if you're here, because in a facility I can look out and see who's here. I don't have that luxury with this software. So I always like to know who's here. Kind of just lets me know who my audience is. And if you'd like to do a watch party, there is a watch party button. It's a great way for you to let your friends know what kind of talks they'll receive if they come, what kind of service they'll actually receive, because we do a full service. And also you can talk to them back and forth without bothering anybody. So it's a really nice way to get their questions answered as things go on in the service, that kind of thing. So always do a watch party if you want to. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God, right here, right now, in us, as us. For God is everywhere and in everything. It encompasses all life, all time, all being, all space, and all opportunity. All of these things take place within that greater substance that we call God. And the process that brings about life is the same process that brings about everything in our lives. We know this is all one good thing, and it surrounds and upholds us right now and always. And I hold this wonderful idea in my head as we move towards the end of this year and through the holiday season. I know that God is upholding us through this and all things. And I know that blessings come forth here, now, and always. I give thanks for these blessings, and I know that it is good and very good. And I let it be so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. All right, this next song is We Are All One, which is, in a nutshell, our philosophy. When people ask me, like the other day at the doctor's office, they asked me, what do we teach? And I said, we are all one. That was a simple answer. There was more to it than that, but at least that's the first thing that comes out of my mouth. We are all one. So if you know the words to this song, sing it loud and sing it proud, because you can't bother anybody. If you don't know the words to the song, learn them, because they're wonderful to have in your heart.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
So say hi, hello, good morning, however you like to greet us. Let me know that you're here. I do want to mention that we have one member of our team missing, and that is Reverend Lynn Tucker. He had a lung transplant this past week, actually Tuesday. And so he's not here to watch the animals. So I apologize ahead of time if the birds get a little crazy. Just saying. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. If you like something that is said here today or sung here today or prayed here today, use that thumbs up button. If you love something that you hear, please send us hearts. We love to get hearts. And if something really hits you as powerful, by all means, use the wow button. That feedback really helps me to know that I'm on target, and we love getting that feedback. So anyway, without further ado, please let me welcome Faith to the screen here. She's going to be singing "If Love Is Why We're Here." Is that it? I got it.
Here, Trucker. Yep, and this is on Songs of Spirit 4 so that you can go buy it later.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Love is why we're here. Let me be an open channel. If love is why we're here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. Love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. Love and receive. Yeah, and receive. Love is why we're here. Let us be an open channel. Love is why we're here. Let us give and then receive. Love is why we're here. Let us be an open channel. If love is why we're here, let us give and then receive. If love is why you're here, let it be an open channel. If love is why you're here, give and then receive. Love is why we're love is why you're here. Let you be an open channel. Love is why you're here. Make you give and then receive. Love is why we're here. Give and receive. Love is why we're here. Let us be an open channel. Love is why we're here. Give and then receive. Love is why let me be an open channel. Love is why I'm here. Love is why we're here. That give and receive. Give and receive. Love is why we're here. Give and receive. Yeah.
Thank you, Faith. I love that song. It's a chant, really, but I love it. It's something really good to get inside you, like a meme in your head. So thank you very much. Okay, so today we're talking about practicing unconditional love. And like most churches out there, we are doing the Christmas Advent topics. Of course, we do it our own. We have a little twist on how we do it. We make it a metaphysical Advent. And we always arrange it around when we do the menorah for Hanukkah, which we talk about joy. So this is the third week. We talked about joy. Hope. We talk about hope. Sorry. We talk about hope during the menorah. Last week, we talked about joy. And today we're going to talk about love. And for those of you who are just tuning in, please know that our version of how we do Advent topics is based on the idea that there is a metaphysical meaning behind everything, not just a literal meaning. So, and sometimes, I talk to you about the definition of a word and ask you to think about the definition for yourself. But today I'm going to give you the definition of what I feel like love is, okay? And unconditional love in particular. So when I was in the school ministry, our instructor for ministerial craftsmanship was, giving sermons. Dr. Fred Vogt, one of my mentor ministers, who is, by the way, or was a really old codger who just loved to irritate people, loved to get under their skin. And so he made this proclamation: there is no such thing as unconditional love, which of course excited all of us to the point of arguing with him and, metaphorically jumping on him because we were like, no, there is unconditional love. There is. And we're just like teenagers when you're in the school of ministry, you're just like teenagers, everything. The instructor knows nothing. And we're fairly snotty about it. So of course we're like, you don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Fred. Of course there's unconditional love. Just look at that and blah, 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 blah. Not really getting in it, getting out of it. And so he got us so upset that we would challenge him. And here's some of our arguments. First of all, I can't believe in a God that places a condition on, or it being in order to blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me try this again. First of all, I was raised Orthodox Jewish. And so one of the things that was brought to the forefront in all of my training was that God had a preference or valued men more than women. So I couldn't deal with that. It ran me screaming from the synagogue, for example. And so me coming into religious science, where we taught that God has no preferences, made me feel a lot better. And it was real comforting to me. So I thought that was the best thing in the world. God has no preferences. That means no, its love for me is unconditional, no matter what. No matter whether I'm a girl or a boy, no matter whether I'm white or black, doesn't matter whether I'm gay or straight, it just doesn't matter. That's unconditional love to me. So we, of course, presented that argument to him, and he said, well, that's just, that's acceptance, but is that unconditional love? And we said, yeah, well, of course it is unconditional love. And he says, how do you know? And that's kind of the way the arguments always went with him. And, we were all taught that God was this wise judge in the sky who had preferences, right? Or that if you thought wrongly, God didn't love you as much as the person who thought rightly. And the version of God I was raised with was a God of war who smote anyone who came up against the Israelites. And so then Jesus comes along and he starts talking about a God that loves unconditionally. So this one person in the class was talking about how they were taught that Jesus didn't believe in a judge in the sky, but a loving father who sometimes had to punish people for that wrong thinking or for not believing. And that was one of the old things in the Old Testament, because when people came to realize that they learned about God, everyone equally, no matter what they've done, is justice. You see, it's not judgment, it's justice without judgment. And that's what happens when we come from these other religions and we come into religious science, because we finally realize that everything we've been taught makes us feel less than somehow. And we're punished by our sins, not for our sins, if that makes any sense to you. And so someone said, sorry, we wish let's see if we wish we could get to the thing to stay. And here, let's see if it works. And this person says, is there unconditional love? And he said, he said, there is there is unconditional love. God, I can't talk this morning. And he said, how do you know? And he said, well, how do you know there isn't unconditional love? Like, how do you know if there's conditional love? How do you prove that there is a conditional love? And Dr. Fred said, well, anytime that you do a good deed and you think you're doing it in the guise of unconditional love, you get happiness out of it. You get joy out of it, right? Well, yeah. Well, that means that it's not unconditional. It has a condition. It makes you feel good to do it. And so we're like, no. It's not about that. It's about the unconditional love of God. And he's like, yes, God loves unconditionally. That is true. But we as humans can't love unconditionally. And I'm thinking, no, that can't be right. So another person started talking about forgiveness and said, they were taught that they must petition God for forgiveness. And then they come into religious science and there isn't any reason to forgive, because God only sees the perfection of us and doesn't have any reason to forgive us. So God doesn't forgive. And so the person said, see, that's unconditional love. And Dr. Fred said, well, how do you prove that? Well, there's nothing to forgive. Yes, but how do you prove that? How do you prove unconditional love? And no matter what argument we brought to him, he swore up and down that there was no unconditional love, because we always have a benefit for every amount of love we gave. And that's conditional. So I guess the question for me becomes then, can we practice unconditional love, right? You practice until you get good at something. You practice because you haven't reached that point yet, right? And so it's not a matter of whether unconditional love exists or not, but can we practice that unconditional love? So the first step, I think, is forgiving, and forgiving everyone. Trust me. Dr. Patty Lukenbach had this really cool idea about what forgiveness is. She said, forgiveness is defined as letting go of the idea that the past will ever change, right? Think about that for a minute. If you're holding something against someone, if you're angry at them or feeling hatred in your heart, or, you're not forgiving them, what are you doing? You're wishing it didn't happen, right? You want to go back and change that it happened, but that's impossible. We can't go back and change anything. We have to just accept that that's what happened. And now we move on to another place. And being unforgiving, all it does is lock us into the past and chain us and our emotional reserve to that person or that thing. It doesn't do anything for them either way. Whether we forgive them or we don't forgive them, it doesn't do anything for them. All it does for us is unchain our heart, so we don't put any energy towards that any longer, and we have more energy for ourselves and those we love. And so if we can accept that whatever happened in the past happened, and it is not a happening now, and it won't be happening in the future, then we can just get into acceptance and start practicing unconditional love. It's really interesting. Dogs are very forgiving, for one thing, but they teach us a lot about unconditional love. And the reason they do is because they don't have any judgments. Like, those of you who can remember Maui from church will remember that she did not like men. She was frightened to death of men. And anytime a man would reach out to her, she'd run away, right? So she taught me this really valuable lesson one time. She had a fan club at Starbucks. And we went there one day to see her fan club. And this goth guy, everybody know what a goth is? This goth guy is standing there. They have like black hair, black lipstick. A lot of times they wear pancake makeup to make their skin look like they're the undead. They have black fingernail polish, piercings, all kinds of stuff. They wear black clothes. So most people are kind of afraid of them because they do sort of look like vampires. And there's like an energetic shift that happens inside of us when we see somebody like that. And what's really interesting is Maui walked right up to this guy and went, "Hi, I love you." And, those of you who have tried to make Maui love you in the past will appreciate how shocked Lynn and I were. Guess, like, what? She had this way of reading whether people were good or not. Not that I'm not saying that the people who were reaching out to her in church were not good people. It's just that she was able to see underneath all of the appearances to that love within them that makes them good people. And he was scary looking. He had a big old huge nose ring, and he had chains that went up to his ears and pierced in his ears, and he had all kinds of like dog chains on his neck, and he had handcuffs on his knuckles that led to chains up his arm. He was scary looking. And so, we're sitting there in our human doingness, looking at him, having our judgment about him. And Maui went right underneath it to the space where she knew he was a good person. And it taught me a very valuable lesson, because we shouldn't judge by appearances anyway. No matter what somebody looks like, what their circumstances look like, we shouldn't judge. But we do. I mean, we're human. And so every time I find myself in that situation, I remember what Maui did with that guy. And I go, yeah, that's the lesson. That's the lesson, is unconditional love means I look beyond the appearances. So, and then, it's proving my point that dogs practice unconditional love. Well, if dogs can practice unconditional love, certainly we can, right? It's probably easier for animals because they don't have those judgments. They don't have this, I must, forgive that person because I hate them. They don't have any of that. Well, some dogs do. I will say that. The dog next door that Avatar used to hold grudges, and he and Choco got in a fight one time. And for a good month, every time he came over, he'd be like, and with this look in his eye like he was going to kill Choco, so I'd have to send him home. But they don't really hold grudges as a general rule. That's a very rare thing for a dog to hold a grudge like that, especially for a whole month. But anyway, but they teach us a lot about whether or not we are in judgment of others based on appearances. And getting back to forgiveness for a minute, because there are things that we have to release in order for unconditional love to be practiced by us. And the process of forgiveness begins with understanding. So I'm going to bring into this talk some of my self-esteem class that I teach. It's written by a guy named Lillian Barksdale. And his son committed suicide. And Lillian only had like an 8th grade education, so he didn't really understand a lot of what all the experts were saying to him about it. He just didn't understand how his son could have committed suicide. And so he delved really hard into the topic and trying to figure out what could have gone wrong, so wrong that his son would want to take his life. And so what happened was he started realizing that his son never felt good about himself. He never had good self-esteem. And so he developed this program for self-esteem that I now teach, that Dr. Marjorie Stamm over at Mile High used to teach. And one of the premises is called prevailing awareness. And that prevailing awareness is, we have an awareness, and then things go on in our lives and we get feedback about it. We do something and we get feedback for that. And then if it's a negative thing, then we change and grow, and our prevailing awareness expands. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about prevailing awareness. But also, he said, you cannot change. We feel like we're powerless to change what happened. And we pretty much are. You can't change things that have happened. But so where is the point of our power? Our point of power is our ability to accept what has happened and move on with our life. That's our point of power. For example, take coronavirus. I mean, there's nothing we can do to change what happened, right? Only what we can do is learn to accept it and do things to mitigate the damage to ourselves and our family. But we can't go back and make coronavirus not have happened. right? And so we're powerless to change it. But our point of power is in accepting that it's happened and moving forward with our life, taking whatever precautions we need to keep ourselves and our families safe, right? It simply means that we stop judging it as bad and stop resisting that it happened. And by resisting, we can't change that it happened, right? So if we stop resisting, we have an opportunity to claim our power back in that situation where we can begin to feel good about things again. So now let's move into situations that we're not willing to change, and I'm unwilling to change how I feel or what I do or what I think, and I need to accept that I'm unwilling to change it, right? That means that we're unwilling to pay the price to change something. It's a decision, not right or wrong, just a decision. So let's talk about those choices for a minute, because I firmly believe that there is only one reason in the world that we do not make a choice. And that is because we either are not willing to pay the price for what we want to see, or we're not, or the prize is not good enough or not powerful enough for us to choose that way, or the price is something we're not willing to pay. Everything is driven by prize and price. So if we see something that has a price for us, we will reach for it, right? Or a prize for us. Gosh, I can't seem to, I don't know what's going wrong with me today. We reach for the prize. So for instance, let's take unforgiveness just for a minute. When you think about unforgiveness, what's happened is you're not willing to pay the price of letting that go. The prize of your ability to have freedom is not great enough for you to be willing to forgive that person, you see? And so everything is driven either as a prize that drives us towards something or a price that we're unwilling to pay that pulls us away from something, if that makes any sense. In terms of unconditional love, what that means is that as long as I'm withholding love from somebody, there's either a prize that I'm getting for that, or there's a price I'm unwilling to pay in order to experience that unconditional love. And whether or not it exists doesn't matter. What does matter is whether or not we want to experience it. Now, Dr. Fred could argue all he wanted that there wasn't unconditional love, and maybe there's not. Maybe that test, I don't know, maybe he's right. But I know that that's what we're here for. If we're only here for love, then that's what we're here for. And I know that we're aiming towards that, whether we get there or not. That's the process of being on this planet. It's all about us working towards that unconditional love that Jesus taught about. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taught about it, right? There would not be anything in the Bible about unconditional love. And so it's our job then to work towards that unconditional love, to follow that teaching. And what that does when we're willing to accept the unconditional love or the divine love or the love of the God love for ourselves, and when we're willing to do that, it takes us out of the loop of hatred and loathing that attract what to us? Hatred and loathing, right? Have you ever noticed you've had a really, really bad morning, and you wake up in the morning, you have a really bad morning, you go out into the world, and it just gets worse? Have you ever noticed that? It's because we carry the energy of how bad that morning has been, or how bad we think the rest of the day is going to be because we've had that bad morning, right? You ever put that curse on yourself for the day? And so we're willing to go out and tell our story to everybody who's willing to listen to it, because it's our story, right? And we're sticking to it. And so we go on and on and on, and how bad everything is, and our day just keeps getting worse. And so we need to interrupt that behavior. I know one time I was driving to church, and we'd had a really nutso morning at the house, and I was complaining and like a little chihuahua all the way to church. And we pulled into the parking lot, and I caught myself, and I thought, no, I'm starting my own morning over right here, right now. This is going to be a good morning. I'm going into church. This is going to be a great day. And I shifted immediately, and everything went smoothly the rest of the day. And that taught me a valuable lesson about how we go me at the things that have happened to us. We, like I said, we tell our story to just absolutely anyone who will listen to us and commiserate with us. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God, I know how that is. My day was like that the last, 2 weeks ago. And I just had a miserable day all day. And they just reaffirm for us that that's the truth about the matter, but it's not. So we stop that, because if we are cultivating loathing and hatred or anger and misery, if we're cultivating that, we now create more of it. We don't want to do that. We want to create good. And so we no longer create from the powerful feelings of hatred and fear and loathing or judgment. We begin to see that the person is operating from their prevailing awareness, right? Again, I remind you, prevailing awareness is when I have this awareness and then I go out and do things and I get feedback that says, oh, this is how this works. And so if it's a negative feedback, obviously, our prevailing awareness grows. And the next time we're presented with that same situation, we're going to act differently. But you can't judge yourself or anyone else for acting with the prevailing awareness they had at the moment, or that we had at the moment. And that's the nugget from Lillian Barksdale that he really wanted people to get, is that you can't go back and change the past. And you can only say that person did what they did with their prevailing awareness at the time. And we can only do what we would rather do than not do based on our prevailing awareness. So when we want to kick ourselves for not going to the gym, or we want to kick ourselves for not choosing this or not choosing that, what we're basically saying to ourselves is, even though I had that prevailing awareness, I think I can go back and change that. No, there's no way to do that. What you have to remember is, I made that choice with the prevailing awareness I had in that moment, and today I make a different choice. Today I feel better about myself because I'm able to make different choices. And that's really, in a nutshell, the self-esteem class. It's 10 weeks because you have to practice. Again, practice makes perfect. So when we understand that people are operating from their prevailing awareness, we don't try to make them different. We don't try to change them. We just understand that they have that prevailing awareness. And so we forgive them for having that prevailing awareness to begin with. And we forgive ourselves for allowing ourselves to be drawn into their prevailing awareness, right? Think about that for a minute. They have this prevailing awareness, so they're acting out of it. And what we do by not forgiving them is we get sucked into it. And then it becomes our prevailing awareness. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So I always go back to this point. I needed to forgive. And I say, I really did my forgiveness work and I really have forgiven that person. But here's the thing. You don't have to invite them back into your life. I always say, like, if you're a kid and somebody burns down your playhouse, you don't have to invite them back when you have a new playhouse to play in it. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. Forgiveness isn't about excluding them out of your life. Forgiveness is about accepting what happened, and you may exclude them out of your life if that's your choice. Maybe maybe they do it all the time. They destroy things. If they destroy things all the time, you probably don't want them back in your life. But there is some redeeming quality to someone that may have made a mistake once or even twice. And in the Bible, it says, how many times should I forgive? 70 times 70 times 70. So really, it's an ongoing process, and you're always, always in forgiveness. So that's what we want to remember. And forgiveness means that I no longer hold any energy against that person. I no longer want things to have been different than they were. I've accepted that they happened the way they happened, and I let go of any judgment that I have against that, and have moved into a place of compassion for them. But I don't invite them back to play in my playhouse, okay? So your mission this week, should you decide to accept it, is to look at all your relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly, anything in between. Even in the best relationship, there are things that are said and done, and you might feel a little anger towards that person, but you need to look at these things and see what you believe about yourself. Learn to love yourself enough to heal. Because if somebody says something that upsets us, it's because we are either afraid it's true or we know that it's true. And they're just mirroring back that to us. Again, don't tell anybody ever, I'm just mirroring you back to you. Don't ever do that. But realize that those people in your life that are saying the things that are upsetting you are mirroring your own fears and beliefs. And as soon as you heal those fears and those beliefs, they stop mirroring that back to you. learn to love yourself enough to heal. Focus on God's love as the source of your experience, and let the abundance of God's avenues open up. Remember, love isn't something we give or get. It's what we are. We are vessels through which we receive and share God's love. And that is why we're here on this planet. Let's have a prayer. I now move my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God is, how amazingly beautiful God is as it flows through all of life. The power, the presence, the love, the life, the beingness of God. All-knowing, all-powerful, all-present. And so that is where I find myself, in the midst of God. My very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one wisdom of the ages that flows in me, through me, as me. God's wisdom. Just who and what I am. And I know that same truth to be so for this marvelous team that God has gifted me with. For Lynn and for Faith and for Oz and for Tina. Because I do know that the power of God flows through us equally. That we are vessels through which God's love pours. And everything that we do on a human doing basis is underlit, under power, under just overwhelmingly powered by God. And that flow that flows through us as one. We are surely one. So I know that same thing to be so for every name that is in there, or for everyone who's here today, whether that be in real time or later on. Because I do know that there's no place where one leaves off and the other begins. There is only God flowing through us. We give outline, form to that love as it flows through us, but that is the truth about us. One life, one love, one being, one power. We are one. Mitaku Yasin, all my brethren. And so I bless this coming week because I really do know that we are provided with opportunities for unconditional love practice. That as we see and experience the world, the judgment just falls away as we let love of God flow through us. The compassion of God becomes our truth, our awareness, our beingness. The power of God takes over. And we just allow that unconditional love to flow into us and out from us as we practice that tool, unconditional love. And so I know that every name in the ministry of prayer today has that same power flowing through whatever condition they are experiencing. And I pull back the veil and reveal that power here and now as more powerful than any condition ever could be. Only God has the power. And so I pull back that veil, I reveal it, I claim it, and name it in their names as good and very good here and now. And so my heart just overflows with the gratitude to know this is so and to be of service in this way. And so I just let it be. And so it is. Amen. Boy. All right, now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express your gratitude for that which you have already seen in this world and that which you have created in the mind of God and may not already be seeing in physical form yet. I'm going to ask you to click on www.oasiscsl.org, and about 2/3 down that page, we are going to be saying an offering affirmation together to bless the money that goes out and the money that comes in. Excuse me, my goodness. But I want to say a little bit about what you're contributing to, especially as we get to our year-end giving here. This month. I think you have 2 more weeks. No, 1 more week? 2 more weeks to give so that you can get it on your tax forms this year. So, but you are contributing to this message getting out into the world. It's not about supporting the organization. It's not about supporting faith. It's not about supporting me financially. It's about supporting the message of God getting out into the world. And it does take money to do that. So I want to remind you that's what we are contributing to, as well as remind you that this is the last few weeks of end of year giving that you can put on your tax form. So here we are, www.oasiscsl.org. Please go there, and about 2/3 down the page, please say this offering affirmation with me. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive, and so it is. All right, hit that contribute now button. All right. We have this wonderful ministry of prayer with licensed practitioners from coast to coast. I love being able to say that. Although, now he's back. Oz is back in Florida. He was in Wisconsin. But that's okay because we have one in Minnesota. We have one in California. We have a couple here in Colorado. And, of course, Oz is in Florida. So we do have licensed practitioners that are our ministry of prayer from coast to coast. We call them our God Squad, by the way. And they are available for prayer and also for spiritual guidance should you need it. I want to let you know that if you would like a prayer to be, oh God, I can't talk today. This is not good. All right, let me start over again. If you would like prayer for something this week, please put it in the comments section. And if you want it to be private, you can always message Faith or myself, and we'll get it put onto the private Facebook group page for our God Squad. And that being said, you do not have to be a licensed practitioner to participate in the ministry of prayer for the God Squad. If you are willing to do affirmative prayer and you are willing to do it every single day for a week and stick to it and keep those requests confidential, you can be added to our Facebook God Squad. So just type yes in the comment section and Faith will add you to that as a member of our God Squad. And if you would like to be part of our online community, type more and she will add you to our public facing group page on Facebook. You will there find all of the information ahead of time about events that we're having, classes that we're having, any kind of thing, including our Christmas Eve service, by the way. We're going to be posting that today at 6:00 p.m. Mountain Time. Please join us for Christmas Eve service. It's going to be very different from our normal Sunday service. A lot of music, a lot of real fun stuff that we're going to be doing. But you'll find out about that faster if you are part of our online community. So just type more in that comment section and Faith will add you to that online community. All right. And then we have our licensed practitioners are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance if you need. All you need to do is reach out to them, let them know that you would like an appointment, and they will set an appointment with you, and you can pay them either through PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, however they choose. They regulate that themselves. I don't have anything to do with that. But they will reach out to you by video chat at the appointed time. And our Oz, our Wise and Powerful Oz, is available by appointment, or is available after the service for our 1-minute miracle. I say this stuff every week. I don't know what's wrong with me today. He's available for our 1-minute miracle, where you can share whatever condition you are experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. You reach out to him through video chat. If he doesn't answer right away, it probably means he's on the phone with someone else, and try back later. There, I got all that in finally. All right, so the first thing we have is Brooks and Bailey, who has prayer beads, mala beads, and bracelets, and they have awesome stuff. They also have a Facebook page, by the way. They were just at the fair in Castle Rock this last weekend. And so they make really wonderful stuff. The bracelets have a little circle with a bar that goes through it so that the bracelets never come off. The proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, and you reach them through Brooks and Bailey 0307@gmail.com or on their Facebook page. Be looking out for that. And then Faith.
And go check out the Mystic Brew. We're almost to Christmas. It's this week. And I would love to get you and your family some intention jars and give them the gift of spirituality. So please check it out. We also have the kits to make your own intention jar, as well as bath salts for different purposes. So check that out. You can purchase it through our website. Man, Picker, you got me all mumble mouthed.
I'm sorry.
Check that out through our website, themysticbrew.com, and then Instagram and Facebook. We will be posting any kind of deals. We will also possibly be hosting a New Year's ritual, so check that out as well.
Thank you, Faith. You know, with Lynn being in the hospital, and Faith and I both, Faith has been really supportive through all of this. She's been helping out. Our brains are just not firing perfectly. I don't know, you know.
Okay.
Thank you, baby. So as an adjunct to that, we also have Angel Renee's intention candles, which are $25 each, and her intention tea bag for your bath. And I think that was $10 if I remember right. She has an Etsy store, and Faith has provided the link to her store. So we love to support those who support us, and Angel Renee is a big support for our church. So, and then I always like to acknowledge Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver for her music that she has gifted us with, and our ability to be able to sing her songs. We Are All One is one of those. And so we use that every Sunday, and we use a lot of her music for Faith to sing with. And so please go to her website and purchase a CD. You won't be able to purchase it by song. And by the way, you will have to reach out to her to find out how to pay her. For some reason, she can't update her website, and she's been traveling all over the United States singing. And so you have to reach out to her to find out how to get payment to her. She might have a Cash App or Venmo or something like that now. I don't know. I haven't reached out to her for that in a long time. But she travels around the country, and she always has CDs in her car, in her trunk of a car. It's just amazing. You open up the trunk, and there's nothing in the trunk, and it's like filled to the brim with CDs. So she has a lot of wonderful stuff. And then also I like to acknowledge Karen Drucker, who has gifted us with her entire collection of 20 CDs. And not just the CDs, but songbooks. And you can buy it by an individual song if you'd like. And some of her songbooks actually have American Sign Language in them. So it's really cool. And we do like to support those who support us. So Karen Drucker's website, you can actually pay for it right then and there. Credit cards, debit cards, all of that works. So go to her website and buy some of her songs, especially if you like that song that Faith sang today.
That is on Songs of Spirit 4 today.
Yes.
Yes.
We're only here for love, or love is why we're here.
If love is why we're here.
I got it right the first time. This time I can't. I don't know.
You know.
My brain's kind of already. Okay. Thank you. Also, check out our website, www.oasiscsl.org. You can find previous sermons there in audio format. You can find our current sermons in video format. And we're also available on YouTube for the video sermons and on SoundCloud for the audio sermons. It's under S. Tucker. But on our website, you can see events that we've had. You can see pictures of who our people are. You can see all kinds of good stuff. My ordination stuff is on there. Lynn's ordination stuff is on there. There's all kinds of good stuff for you to look at and really understand who we are and what we stand for and that kind of thing. So definitely check out our website. Again, that's www.oasiscsl.org. And all of that is in the comments, by the way. We have one last song and then we're almost done. So this is a really good one to get stuck in your head. It's how we bless everything. We just bless our life, the money, everything.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And I know that right here, right now, as in all time, God's presence is in and around us, moving us, motivating us, and blessing us along our way. I give great thanks for the being in the presence of God right here, right now. And I let these things flow forth, for I know that God is all there is, right here, right now, and forever. Thank you, God. And so it is.
And so it is. All right. So make sure and join us at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Christmas Eve. We have a wonderful program planned for you. Lots of music, lots of really fun stuff that you're going to enjoy. I know you will. So be there or be square. And always join us on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. We loved having you here. It's a blessing to have you here. We know there's 1,000 things you could be doing, and we're glad you're here with us. So stay safe out there. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. We love you. Come back soon. Bye.